You know that feeling, right? That sense of powerlessness, that anger that boils up when you're trying to co-parent with a difficult ex. We've all heard the stories, maybe we've even lived them. The manipulation, the emotional games, the constant feeling that you're in a battle to protect your kids. But what if the best way to protect them isn't what we think it is?
Okay, I know. That can be a really tough pill to swallow, especially when you feel completely justified in your anger. It just goes against every instinct that tells you to point out the other parent's bad behavior. But trust me, embracing this one idea is the key. It's the first step to unlocking a much more powerful way to parent through all this conflict.
And there it is. That's the core of this entire shift. See, your children's emotional education, it isn't shaped by your arguments over who's right and who's wrong. Not at all. It's shaped by watching you, how you handle pain, how you talk about their other parent, how you react when things get tough. This is where your real power is.
So let's start by just being honest. The frustration is real. Of course it is. When you're dealing with someone you feel is emotionally unsafe, it is so natural to fall into that cycle of blame. It feels like the only way to protect yourself, right? But this cycle, well, it has consequences you might not even see.
Think of this as a kind of mirror. It shows the direct line between our actions and what our kids learn. If all your energy is poured into fighting and resentment, well, that's the emotional language they're going to pick up. But look at the flip side. When you model peace, when you model responsibility, you are actively, in real time, teaching them resilience and self-worth. And this leads us to a really empowering idea. You can be the primary emotional teacher for your child, no matter what your ex says or does. You can be the constant, the example of what emotional maturity actually looks like. Think about all that energy you've spent trying to control or change your ex. It's exhausting, isn't it? Well, what if you could redirect all of it? The only person you actually need to influence is yourself. It's about becoming an invitation to a different way of being, one that's based on responsibility and emotional adulthood. The power is 100% in your hands. Okay, this all sounds good in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you stay calm when you get that text message that just makes your blood boil? Well, the good news is there's a clear, actionable plan for making this shift from reacting to leading. We're going to break these 3 steps right down. Think of them as your new toolkit. First, how to stop an emotional reaction dead in its tracks. Second, how to filter all the stuff coming your way. And third, how to become that solid as a rock source of stability for your child.
So let's dive in to step 1. This is all about breaking that automatic knee-jerk frustration that just fires up the second you get triggered. It's about taking back control in that critical moment before things spiral.
A state interruption is, well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You are intentionally interrupting your emotional and physical state. You're stopping that runaway train of anger or anxiety before it even leaves the station, moving yourself out of that reactive reptile brain and into your conscious thinking mind. So the second you feel that trigger, do something physical. I mean it. Stand up, pull your shoulders back, take one deep, slow breath, and then ask yourself this question. It is so powerful. It immediately shifts your focus from the problem, your ex, to your purpose, your child. And in that instant, you take your power back. Okay, so you've interrupted that immediate reaction. Fantastic. Now you need a way to manage the constant flow of communication without letting it get under your skin and just completely drain you. I want you to think of the interface as like a firewall for your soul. Seriously, you visualize this clean, clear barrier between you and your ex. Every single message, every text, every email, every snide comment, it has to pass through this filter before it's allowed to reach you. So look at this example. The message on the left is just dripping with emotional noise, isn't it? The little jab, the martyrdom of like always. Your interface strips all that away. It blocks the emotional hook and just delivers the pure data. The children will be there at 5 p.m. That's it. You then respond only to the fact, and all that manipulation, it has nowhere to go. You stay unshakable. This final step, this one is the most profound. We've managed our internal state, we've managed our communication. Now we're going to get to the deepest level of this whole dynamic, your child's own internal world. So the term coherent nexus might sound a little complex, but the idea is actually very simple and incredibly powerful. A nexus is just a point of connection. Your child is a literal, biological nexus, a fusion of you and your ex. They're 50% you and 50% them. So when you harshly judge or condemn their other parent, you're actually creating conflict inside your child. Let that one sink in for a minute, because this is the heart of the whole thing. For a child to feel whole and at peace with themselves, they can't feel like half of who they are is bad or wrong. Now, this doesn't mean you have to approve of their other parents' actions, not at all. But it does mean respecting their position as a parent, for the sake of your child's internal peace. And when you can do this, you give your child the most incredible gift. You become their safe harbor. You become the one place where they don't have to choose sides, where they're not forced to split themselves in two. You become the anchor of stability in their world, and you give them permission to love both of their parents without feeling guilty. See, by putting these 3 steps into practice, you're not just making your own life more peaceful, you are actively building a legacy for your child. They learn firsthand that hard situations can be handled with grace. They learn that pain doesn't have to turn into bitterness that lasts a lifetime. You literally become the architect of their emotional foundation.
Look, this kind of leadership isn't about being perfect. Nobody is. It just demands awareness. Every single time you choose a calm response over a bitter reaction, you are laying another brick in the foundation of your child's resilience, of their self-confidence. The choice and all the power that comes with it is yours. So the only question left is, will you be the architect?